Apologies in advance, guys, that you haven't had a video over the last 2 weeks, but that's mainly because since the signing of Matthews and Feeney, I couldn't really think of anything to talk about, and I try to avoid just putting something out for the sake of it. Obviously, to some degree, I have been doing that with putting out regular videos just to try and keep the channel ticking over. But at the same time, I also try to think. I'd like to think there's at least I'd like to put some thought into what I'm doing. Even though I don't script my videos or anything like that. So I do kind of do it off the cuff, but people seem to like it anyway. So, but I did think, right, 2 weeks is quite a long time, certainly for what's happened recently without a video. And this is actually quite relevant because at the time of recording the Carabao Cup first round clash against Hull City at the Stadium of Light this coming weekend, obviously a couple of days away, is the first competitive game of the 2021 season. And I did think that I did want to do a bit of a season preview and just kind of look at, what to expect from it, just thoughts in general going into the season and just see what you guys think of it. So let's get into this thing. So this coming Saturday, Hull City come to the Stadium of Light in the Carabao Cup first round. Now, for me, you might fair enough have your own opinion. I know quite a few people. I know a couple of other people have basically said that they can't get into the mindset of they want us to lose the game. Now, I'm not saying I want us to lose to Hull or Villa under 21 or Villa under 21s, 23s, whatever it is now. I'm not saying I deliberately want us to lose those games. I'm never going to get to that point. But I do think there's an element of looking at the bigger picture when applied here. Now, I think Saturday is a no-lose scenario, because if we get knocked out, I don't think many people are going to be as bothered. Well, it depends. It depends on the manner. If we get knocked out, it depends on the manner in which we get knocked out. Do I think we'll win on Saturday? No, I think Hull probably will beat us, but I don't know. And I think that what I want to see from Saturday mainly is the idea of a team starting to come together. I want to see as close to a first team for the game against Bristol Rovers a week later as I possibly can get. And I want to see, I'd like to see Grigg score again. I'd like to see him, because I think people can disagree with me, and that's fair enough. But again, as long as people are respectful of each other's opinions, which shouldn't be hard to do, by the way, then I don't mind people disagreeing with us. Having said that, I think when I've seen, I'm not going to lie, I do kind of roll my eyes when I've seen people go, no chance of promotion, our playoffs are absolute best, or we're lucky to get in the playoffs. Now, I don't buy into that. I think that's, there's realistic and then there's negative for me, and I do think that is borderline on the negative territory. Now, if that's what people genuinely feel, that's what they genuinely feel. No issues there with that. But my issue, I think the squad we've got at the minute is quite comfortably a playoff side. I think it is actually quite comfortably a playoff side. Obviously, that depends on injuries, I know that. But at the minute, you can only judge on what's actually there. And for me, the squad we've got now, I expect that side to get into the playoffs. Of course, I want more. That does not mean I don't want more players in, because I do want more players in. I'd like to see a good left back. I'd like to see at least one creative midfielder, and see if we get in that Hamajli. Now, I probably said that wrong, so please someone correct me in this comment or in future videos comments if I get that wrong, because I probably will. If we do get him, then there's something. But I honestly believe that Will Grigg, for example, could be the difference between top 6 and top 2 this season. Now, he's been handed a reprieve in a lot of different respects, because he was probably on the verge of leaving Sunderland, but the difficulty thing is that with the wages that he would have been on here, we'd probably be comfortably paying him the most he's ever received at this level. At very least, comfortably the most that he's going to get in this current climate at the moment. So I think that with Will Grigg, he's been handed a reprieve in the sense that not many clubs would have took his wages, and we were probably trying to offload him, but obviously no other club probably would be prepared to pay his wages, and it depends whether he wanted to move as well. So when it comes to now, with the salary cap, he's very unlikely to get a move in League One, because the wages he's going to demand, hardly anyone's going to be able to afford. They probably wouldn't be able to afford it anyway, let alone with the salary cap. Now, for me, I think if we've got him, and I think we're going to be stuck with him, we may as well try and get the best out of him. And I think Will Grigg, apparently, has looked sharper, has looked fitter. It looks like, I know it's rich coming from me, but it looks like he's lost a bit of timber. It looks like he's actually in better physical condition than what he has been when he first joined. Because remember, when he first joined Sunderland, he was on the back of a long-term-ish injury. So this is a big season. This is not just for him, but for Sunderland as well. This is a massive season coming up. The only acceptable scenario is top two, and I don't care what anybody says. That's the only way this season is regarded as a success. If Sunderland finished in the playoffs and won the playoffs, then I would say, okay, it's not a failure, but would I call it a success? Well, ultimately, yes, more yes than no, because you've got promoted. But I think in terms of the normal league season, anything less than top two is an outright failure and isn't good enough. And again, the only way that's excused is if you win the playoffs. Now, Will Grigg, for me, at the minute, I think we've got a top six team. Even if Charlie Wyke did start in the team, I do believe Sunderland would get in the top six, because I do believe there are other players in the team that can score goals. But I don't think we'd win the playoffs. I think with Charlie Wyke starting up front, and I know it sounds like I slate Charlie Wyke all the time, and I do appreciate that he tries a lot. I just really don't think he's good enough, and a lot of Sunderland fans can say the same thing. I think with Charlie Wyke, you can definitely tell that he tries a lot. But I think if he started up top, and I'm talking like regularly throughout the season, if he started most games up top, then Sunderland, I think, would get into the playoffs again, just because there's other, like Gucci Maguire, they can score goals. People from midfield can pop up with a goal now and again. I do think Sunderland would have enough to get in the top six, but I don't think we'd do any more than that. I think we'd probably finish about 5th or 6th, probably 6th to be honest, and then end up losing the playoff semis or losing the final or something. Will Grigg, however, is a different matter, because although Will Grigg, I can understand the argument that, you know, he doesn't deserve a chance this season. He's had 18 months to buck his ideas up and he hasn't done it. I just think, for me, Will Grigg has still technically got the quality to be the difference this season. And I think of a really goal-scoring, on-fire Will Grigg, no pun intended, that could be the major difference for me between top six and top two. I don't think there's as much to do in the squad as everyone says there is. I think defensively, we could very easily have one of, if not the best defensive team in the league. And this for me is a big thing. Sunderland have got to make a regular habit out of keeping clean sheets. Now, we saw glimpses of that last season when we went, and this was coincidentally with Bailey Wright in the team. Now, the big thing is keeping him fit. If we keep him fit, then don't be surprised to see Sunderland be very good defensively consistently next season. But I think last season we saw an example of this. When you look at the Ipswich game, the Rochdale game, the Oxford game, the Bristol Rovers game, we kept 4 successive clean sheets. Now, obviously, again, and even when Bailey Wright was in the team, when you had Tranmere, Portsmouth, Ipswich, Rochdale and Oxford, 4 out of those 5 we won, and 4 out of those 5 we won, we kept a clean sheet as well. It was only the 2-0 defeat to Pompey that was, the thorn in that. So we saw glimpses of that. We saw glimpses of what we can do. Now, if Sunderland can keep clean... Now, for me, Sunderland's target should be at least 20 to 25 clean sheets next season. Now, is that realistic? I'd like to think 20 is, if we're switched on nearly every game. And I know, and by the way, I am not delusional enough to expect clean sheets every single match. I know we're going to concede goals. It's just realism. It's realistic. Realistically, we are going to concede goals. But for me, keeping clean sheets is a massive factor. And if Sunderland can keep clean sheets, I would back Sunderland to win the game 9 times out of 10, because we have enough to pop up with a goal and actually get the 3 points now and again. But obviously, again, I don't want to just rely on keeping clean sheets. I want us to be potent going forward as well. I want to see us be less prolific in front of goal, and this is where the striker comes in. Grigg's finish against Harrogate. Now, again, granted, it is against Harrogate Town, who've just got out of the conference into League 2, and we're going to be facing better defences than that in the league, in League 1. But if Grigg can maintain some sharpness and actually just get his confidence up, get going, I really believe this could be Grigg's year. And if Grigg gets himself scoring loads of goals regularly, then I think Sunderland are in with a very good shout of top 2. Like I said, in a general sense, though, it's a big season, and it's a big season for Sunderland as well, because with the salary cap, with the fact maybe if the rule potentially gets more strict as time goes on, we don't know what's going to happen with that yet with the EFL. We don't even know if this is going to be overturned yet, in terms of the PFA taking them to task on, saying they should have been consulted with the salary cap. Would like to have an answer on that very quickly, please, mind. Can we not stall on this. For this season, again, it's imperative that we go up. The idea, I know I've said this the last few times, the idea of being stuck down in this league for 5-6 seasons is just, it doesn't bear thinking about for me. I'm just begging we go up this year. Just whatever way you do it, just get promoted. And again, that includes not sacking off, but somewhat disregarding the cup competitions. I think we just need to think, right, this is a chance for fitness, this is a chance to gel people together. I'm not as bothered about these cup games. Let's just focus solely on the league campaign. And it's a big season for Phil Parkinson as well. Phil Parkinson, in some respects, is quite lucky that the current pandemic that's going on at the moment ended up disrupting the season. Now, had the season continued last year, I do believe that Sunderland would have made the playoffs. I think it was way too close for people to say we wouldn't have been in the playoffs. I do think we would have done, because I think the fixtures we had would have done. But the bizarre thing is, normally with a manager, if that was the case, Parkinson did have time to get Sunderland into the playoffs or in the top two. And I don't buy the argument that, he can't be sacked because the season didn't get finished. Well, if that's the case, then, Coventry and Rotherham and Wickham shouldn't have gone up, and Tranmere, Southend and Bolton shouldn't have gone down then, if that's the case. I don't buy that. That's not a good argument for me. Parkinson, I did say last season that if Parkinson doesn't achieve promotion, we should be considering, what's the word I'm looking for, replacing the manager. But in saying that, Parkinson for me at the minute is our best hope of getting promotion in the current climate, and I don't think we're going to get anybody better than Parkinson. That obviously isn't a reason to keep Parkinson, but for me, Parkinson I think can still deliver next season. I think this coming season he can deliver promotion, but he's got to be less stubborn. He's got to be, when it comes to making substitutions, and I say this every time I'm on camera, but for me, it's a big factor. Parkinson has got to improve in terms of making subs at certain times in games. He's got to improve. What's the word? Not waiting until the 80th minute to make his first change if something isn't working. I'm quite done with that, and it's not just against Parkinson. That frustrates me in all managers when they're reluctant to make changes. But no, I think it's a massive season for Parkinson as well. This is his chance to show he can, thrive at a big club like Sunderland. The biggest he's had other than Sunderland is Bolton. I don't think Bolton are as big as Sunderland, but they are a pretty big club considering who Parkinson's worked with. I'm not saying the other club. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to other clubs, by the way, but it's just the point that Sunderland will definitely be by some distance the biggest club that he's managed in his career, and I just think that he needs to show that he can deliver as well. As for the rest of the side for League One. It's quite weird because with Sunderland, the rest of the side we don't know, because it does annoy me a little bit when people go on about, we've lost with John McLaughlin, we've done this, we've not done that, we've done that, but yet other clubs have lost some what they would consider their best players. Bristol Rovers have lost Clark Harris, who I've said I rated and wanted to sign at Sunderland. Obviously he's gone to Peterborough and was Ivan Toney's replacement. Now, time will tell whether he's as good as Ivan Toney, but Peterborough have lost Ivan Toney. They've lost Marcus Maddison. Smodix, we don't know what's happening with him, whether he's coming to Peterborough, whether he's potentially going to Sunderland, we don't know any of that. There are a lot of clubs there who have lost some key players because of this pandemic, but yet our chances are worse than theirs. And I would argue, with Sunderland's squad, only John McLaughlin is the only key player that we've lost. I think in terms of outfield players, I can't really think of anybody who's, oh my God, I'm really sad we've lost him. I couldn't think of anyone. Does that mean I think we'll get in the top two? No, at the minute I don't. That's at the minute. That could change. We don't know. It depends on how the season starts. I'm debating doing a sort of prediction video next week at some point in the preview of the season about where I think Sunderland are going to finish. I'm not going to do it for the whole of League One because I can't pretend to be knowledgeable about it. I'm not going to try and insult other fans' intelligence by trying to claim to know more about it. But for Sunderland, I want to try and say who's going to be a key player, who's going to finish top goal scorer. It's just a little bit of fun, and ultimately where we are going to finish. So, like I said, massive season coming up. One last thing I will touch upon before I finish, and apologies, this has been about 15 minutes long, but one last thing I will touch upon is I do think that when it comes to the behind closed doors thing, I've said in the past I think some players cannot handle playing for a club the size of Sunderland, and I think you look at the likes of Jack Baldwin. Now, I didn't think Jack Baldwin was as bad as people said he was. I think a lot of people looked at that Coventry game and just judged him out of context based on that one performance, when I thought before then, I actually thought he was quite consistently one of our best defenders. Yes, he had the odd mistake in, but most players in this league have an odd mistake in them. It's all about managers getting to coach them out of that. But for me, he's an example of one of them. Now, being behind closed doors, in some respects, especially for Will Grigg, could be a good thing. There's no fans there. There's not as much pressure. Obviously, there's going to be pressure there, don't get me wrong. But there's not going to be as much pressure there. And I'm not saying, by the way, that Sunderland fans are toxic and it's a bad thing. Because as you know, I think that's absolute garbage. I think Sunderland fans have been very patient with what we've had to put up with and endure. And I am going to use that word because it is pretty accurate. Over the last few years, I've named them all loads of times. Over the last few years, what Sunderland fans have had to put up with, I'm not going to name them again. But expecting to go from League One isn't delusional or unrealistic, and it definitely isn't toxic or arrogant. So, for me, but I do also think that some players just can't handle it. Now, I'm hoping if Sunderland are going to use this right, this behind closed doors thing, we could use that to push on and really get a good start going. And obviously, as I say on SCFC Fan TV, when you look at the fixture reactions, you know, they've just looked at September in isolation. I think 7 points out of those games is a good return. I think it's a good base, it's a good start. Build on it, kick on for the next lot of fixtures, because you know. That's the aim. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. I want Sunderland to win every game, but we're not going to. But I do think behind closed doors thing could be used in the correct way if we do it. Anyway, guys, look, I love you and leave you there. That was my ramble of a season preview. Massive season ahead for Sunderland. Massive season ahead for the fans. Massive season ahead for the likes of Will Grigg and Phil Parkinson. There's a massive season ahead for everybody all concerned. Let's just please, one way or another, get promotion. And I love you all a bit, and I'm going to see you later on for the SCFC Fan TV live stream.